the airplane for the passengers. Okay, so the pack has got three positions: off, auto, and high. Off means that the pack is off. There's no air going into the pack. Auto is logic. Auto means it's normally in a normal operations in a low airflow or normal airflow situation for the pack. And there's high. High is high airflow for the pack. Limitation for high airflow is you cannot have the packs in high for takeoff, approach, and landing if the engine bleed valves are on. In the auto function, if the pack is an auto, like I said, it's normally in a normal low airflow, unless the other pack switch is turned off, and then it will go to a high airflow, basically to provide enough airflow to back up the pack that just got turned off. The exception to that is takeoff, approach, and landing, and the airplane knows it's in takeoff, approach, and landing by flaps. So if the flaps are not up, that if it was in high airflow due to the auto logic, it then goes back to a normal airflow. We got the isolation valve. The isolation valve isolates the left side from the right side of the manifold. If it's the valve switch is enclosed, it means the valve is closed and you have isolation between the two sides. If it's open, then the valve is open. If it's an auto, it's logic. In normal operation, typically, that valve in auto is in the closed position, unless one of these four switches is switched to the off position, and then the valve automatically open. I've got some lights down here. I've got the bleed trip off light. The bleed trip off light means that the bleed valve has tripped off due to over temperature or over pressure. Per the QRH, it'll tell us to push the trip reset button. The over temperature or over pressure has reset itself, and that light will extinguish, and that valve will then reopen. When that light comes on, the valve closes. Pack light means that the air cycle machine itself has overheated. It's working too hard. In an 800, the pack light also means that I have a dual controller failure if the light comes on. In a 700, it's a pack trip off light. Pack trip off light just means that the air cycle machine is overheated. Now, if that light illuminates, that means that that pack has tripped offline. Again, per the QRH, I can push that trip reset button, and if the situation is resolved, then the pack will then come back up online, and that light will extinguish, and the pack will return the service. Wing body overheat light means I have a bleed air leak in the lines. On the left side and the right side, they're slightly different. On the left side, it means I have a bleed air leak in the left engine pylon, left leading edge, air conditioning bay, APU ducting, or the kill beam. The right wing body heat means light comes on. It's just the first three that I mentioned. That is not resettable with the trip reset. It's a bleed air leak. For the QRH, you have to isolate that bleed air leak. We've got a duct pressure gauge, which is just telling you the pressure in the ducting on the left and right side of the manifold. There's no limitations associated with this. Recirculation fans, there's two recirculation fans in an 800, and there's one recirculation fan in a 700. The recirculation fans recirculate the air from the cabin floor vents down and from the cargo bay into the mixed manifold, or cargo bay mixed manifold, and back into the mixed manifold. It makes the refrigeration, the air conditioning system more efficient, so the packs don't have to work as hard. They don't have to take as much bleed air from the engines. Because the recirc fans have switches off and then auto. Off means the switch is off. Auto is logic. Normal operation, if it's an auto, it means the fan is running. In a 700, if both packs are operating and either pack switch is turned to high, then the recirc fan is going to turn off. In an 800, there's two fans, so it's slightly different. Both packs are operating. If either pack switch goes to high, the left recirc fan turns off. If you take then the other pack to high, meaning both packs are now on high, then you also have the right recirculation fan turn off. Otherwise, the fans will run. Dual bleed light will come on if I have APU bleed valve open and the left engine bleed switch on, or the APU bleed valve open, isolation valve open, and the right engine bleed switch on. Limitation with that is if I have a dual bleed light, then thrust cannot go above idle power. Ram door full open. Ram doors are on the bottom part of the aircraft. They're used for the first part of cooling in the refrigeration cycle. Small heat exchangers in there that take ambient air and start cooling off the bleed air before it goes to the packs. On the ground or at low differential pressure, those lights will be illuminated, telling you that the ram doors are full open. And anytime those lights are not illuminated, that means the ram door is in some other position except full open. There's no way for us to control that in the cockpit. Okay, we've got the temperature controller for an 800, and a 700 it looks slightly differently. But here in the 800, we've got a rheostat and a knob to control for the control cabin, which is the cockpit, forward cabin, and the aft cabin, which is just that. And this is dials from max cold over to warm. Okay, the zone templates. Zone template means that the temperature in the zone, meaning the temperature in the ducting going to that respective zone, has exceeded the limit, and the light will come on. In a 700, there's two of these, and it's called duct overheat lights. It's the same thing. Temperature has exceeded the limit in the respective ducting. It also means that we could have a controller failure if that zone template comes on. The zone template comes on, you open up the QRH and handle the situation as it directs you to. Trim air, on or off. It's normally left in the on position. What trim air is it trims excess bleed air and puts it back into the air going into downstream of the mixed manifold into the respective zone to fine tune the temperature going into the respective zone. We've got a temperature gauge here, which is going to tell you what the temperature reading is based on what you have selected on this dial. So here, supply duct temperature, the temperature in the ducting going into these respective zones, or the temperature that's actually in the passenger cabin, forward and aft, or the temperature of the packs, left and right packs. In a 700, the temperature controllers are slightly different. There's two temperature controllers. There's an auto function, which is the top. I don't have a 700 picture here, but there's auto controllers. The top portion is auto, and basically what you do, you're setting a position of the air mix valves. If the auto function is not working properly, you can go into a manual function by just manually controlling the valves, and you turn that dial down to a 6 o'clock position, and it's spring loaded at the 6 o'clock position, and you have to hold it either towards the cold or towards the warm to make that valve move in that manual position. And then it has a temperature gauge, but then it just has the passenger cabin temperature and the duct pressure, duct temperature, two positions for the switch. Any questions with this? If I missed anything, it's likely. Let's start talking. So that's my version of it. It's simple. It's just, what does a switch do? What does the light mean? And any general overview